Hello and welcome to Becky's Bible Thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me here today as we dig into the Bible a little bit together. Now, we've been exploring a little bit of the Old Testament lately, thinking about some of the kings of Israel and of Judah, and a little bit of time has passed since the last video, and a new king is leading the people of Israel. His name is Ahab. Along with his wife Jezebel, Ahab is described as the worst king to date, doing more than any other to turn the hearts of the people of Israel away from God. And a prophet by the name of Elijah was active in Israel at this time. And he told the king that until he said so, there would be no rain whatsoever in the land. And that happened. There was no rain. And as a result of it, there was a severe famine. But God miraculously provided for Elijah. In fact, in 1 Kings chapter 17, we're told that God directed ravens to supply Elijah with food, with bread and meat, every single morning and every single evening. That is some strange direction right there, I can tell you. Of all the things that God had told Elijah to do in his life, this must be one of the strangest, right? Go in and sit by this little stream and wait for birds to bring you your breakfast and your dinner every day. There is nothing that God can't use, right? But actually, that's not the most interesting thing that I found in this particular Bible story. So we're told that sometime later, that brook that Elijah was staying by dried up. And so God gave him this instruction: go at once to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food. Ah, well, great. That's good. There's someone ready. They're going to provide me with food and water. God must have sent an angel to speak to this particular widow. She's going to know exactly what I need. In fact, I think maybe that first meal might be like a good steak or something really delicious that I've been craving for a while. This is much more familiar. This is much more normal than having birds deliver my food. Now there's a person who God has directed to help me. So Elijah sets out. He gets to Zarephath, and there's a widow gathering sticks for the fire. Elijah asks her for a little food and water, but instead of immediately supplying his needs, instead of rolling out the red carpet and bringing out all of his favorite foods and everything, she explains that all she has left in her kitchen is enough flour and oil for one last meal for her and her son before they would be doomed to starvation. It's a miraculous story, and the woman goes on to feed Elijah, and the flour and the oil continues to flow, allowing both mother and son and prophet to eat through the course of this famine. It is incredible. But why? Why did God tell Elijah that he had directed a widow to supply him with food when it seems that she knew absolutely nothing about it? Another translation of that same passage, it says that God had instructed the widow to feed him. Not just directed, but given her a specific instruction. That sounds like a really definite thing, right? As if God had, come and had a little quiet word with her and told her to look after this man who would be coming along. Instead, she hesitates because she has absolutely nothing left to give him. Now, I think if God said to me, go to this village, I've instructed someone to feed you, then I'd be waiting for like a welcoming party. I'd a really obvious demonstration that this was the person who God had given that instruction to. I'd expect them to run over and be like, Becky, you've arrived. Yes, thank you. You are just the person that God was talking to me about. I've got something special for you. I'm going to look after you so well. That's not what happened. The widow who was to be the source of Elijah's provision, this person who was about to see an extraordinary miracle, who was going to be provided for herself by God, she had no idea that that's what God was instructing her to do. God knew the plan, even if the people involved didn't. God always knows the plan. He always knows how he's going to provide for us, what doors he's going to open, what individuals he will use to get us where we need to go. But we and they may not have any idea about it. And it's not that we don't have free will. It's not that we're just set on this path and we're going to be directed against our own desires to do what God wants in our lives. We always have a choice. We always have a decision to make. I fully believe that that widow could have said no to Elijah, and that God would have found someone or something else to supply the need. The need would have been met one way or the other, but she would have missed out on seeing something incredible, and chances are her and her son would have starved. God used her, he directed her, but she still had a choice. Now, whether you're an Elijah needing provision in some way, or whether you're like the widow in this story, in a position where you can provide for somebody else, even if it doesn't really look like it, God may be directing you in a way that seems strange at first glance. Maybe you're not even sure why it is you're doing what you're doing right now. But it could be that God is directing you, using you to reach into the life of someone else. In either situation, we can rest assured that God is the provider, that he will always bring us what we need, and that if he's asking us to provide, if he's asking us to give even when we don't seem to have anything to give, then he is not going to allow the supply to run dry. What a relief that is for worry today. We don't need to have any anxiety because he has already made the plans. He has already sent out the direction, and we just get to sit back and enjoy seeing the miracle. Thank you so much for joining me here today for these thoughts from the Bible, and I'll see you next time.